Let's maximize yield without creating a disease prone jungle. In episode 2, we decided what we were going to grow and how many we needed. Now all we have to do is figure out where it's actually going to go. Most new gardeners have played garden checkers, where they plant plants in a nice little row, evenly spaced one by one. I don't play checkers, I play Garden Tetris. If you put the wrong block in the wrong spot, like planting your corn on the south side of your peppers, you create a green wall that shades out half of your garden. Today we're going to draw your 2026 garden map. We'll place the big stuff first and plant the small stuff in the gaps in between and make the sun work for you, not against you. Step 1 is your canvas. Draw your beds to scale. One box on graph paper equals 1 foot. Now draw an arrow where is north. This will be the most critical line you draw all day today. In zone 6B, our summer sun arcs high in the south. If you plant your tall crops, trellis tomatoes, corn, whole beans, on the south side of your bed, they will cast a shadow northward over the rest of your entire garden. Rule number 1 of Garden Tetris: tall stuff goes north, short stuff goes south. Now grab your numbers from episode 2, and we're going to start with the big block, the crops that are going to take up space for the entire season. For me, that's of course going to be tomatoes and peppers. And always remember that a tomato seedling is tiny, but a tomato plant is a beast. You want to give them a minimum of 2 feet. We actually run 3, but if you're trying to cramp. What you can do, though, if you're wanting to plant them at 2 feet and get as much space out of them as possible inside your row, you can zigzag them. And the reason behind that is, of course, airflow. If they're in a straight line, you're doing a whole line of blockage right there. But if you zigzag them and stagger them, the wind will whip in and around all the bottom of those plants. And if they're jammed together, you're going to get light, gives them space, you get fruit. Next, of course, is going to be peppers. They're a medium block. They go in front of the tomatoes, but they need sun, but they won't shade out the carrot. Now look at all this wasted space in between the tomatoes. In May, your tomatoes are kind of tiny sticks, so the ground is really empty. This is where Garden Tetris is going to start getting fun. We'll fill these empty blocks with fast crop, lettuce, radishes, or spinaches. So by the time the tomatoes are big and shading out the entire space, you've already harvested most of your radishes and spinach. But I will add in there, if you intercrop this way, you can actually succession plant underneath them, and the shade from the tomatoes seems to keep the lettuce, spinach, and radishes from bolting in the heat. I don't have as much problem with it with radish, but I do have a lot of problem with it with lettuce and spinach. If you do a more heat tolerant spinach, it's the one that'll bolt immediately as soon as it gets 70 degrees. Find a heat tolerant variety. It actually create a microclimate under the tomatoes, which will extend the spinach harvest. Same thing with the lettuce. Last year, it took 90 degrees, but the black seeded Simpson actually did bolt. So we ended up planting some under the tomatoes, and it fared way better. And that's going to double your yield without actually expanding your garden beds. If you have a 4 foot wide bed, can you actually reach the center without stepping on any of the soil? If you step on the soil, you're actually crushing the air pockets inside of the row itself. Always do your garden layout in a way that you don't have to step in the row itself. Plus, it's really inefficient whenever you're trying to reach inside to the middle to get plants out. For us, whenever I drew out the original garden plan, we did have to go with a little bit different plan for north and south and east and west just to keep erosion from happening. We drew out all of our pathways first and then put the rows in between. And so we staggered them. Row 1, repeat. Row 2, repeat. And wash, rinse, and repeat. And each of these rows are about 25 feet long. We have plenty of grow room from the top to the bottom. And with the intercropping that we use, it actually creates a lot more harvest in that smaller space. So the space we're wasting as pathways is actually being used because it's helping with the airflow, that's pest and disease flowing. And with the intercropping, we're still getting just as much harvest. Plus, if you plant a whole lot of lettuce in between all of those tomatoes, most of it you're probably not going to be able to eat inside of a 25-foot row. You're getting essentially the same harvest, spacing it out more while actually keeping it condensed. Your homework for episode 3 is, of course, finishing your map. Draw your beds, mark north, place your big blocks to the north, fill in the gaps with your smaller block, and make sure with any of this you're doing, you're using pencil because you are going to erase it and you're going to do it multiple times until you get it just the way you want it. Now, you might be looking at this map thinking, man, I still don't have enough space for everything I'm going to grow. And that's because you're thinking in two dimensions. But in the next video, we're going to add the third dimension, which of course is time. I'll show you how to grow three different crops in the exact same row over a one season span. It's called succession planting, and it is an endless supply of food. See you in episode 4.